I'm Alex Zirkelbach, and this is my final project for Design of Coffee. Here is my flow diagram showing you how to make the perfect cup of coffee. So the first thing we're going to want to do is select our beans. So for this, we're going to go with the Rwanda coffee beans, and we want to start out with 30 grams of green Rwanda coffee beans. We want to put those into the Nesco number 7 roaster, and we're going to set that to 22 minutes, which is a light roast. 17 of those minutes are going to be roasting, and 5 are going to be cooling. Now, while this is going on, we want to take 330 grams of water, and we want to put it into a measuring cup and leave that in the sun for the amount of time that the beans are roasting. This will heat up the water a little bit, and that will decrease the amount of energy used later. It is important to note that this water should not come from the tap. It should come from the pure water in the other part of the room. Now we want to take when the beans are done roasting, you're going to lose about 4 grams, and it should use about 0.036 kilowatt hours. And we want to take the 26 grams of roasted beans, leave out 6, and measure out 20 grams of roasted beans. Now what we want to do is take those 20 grams of roasted beans and put them into the grinder, put the top on, and press and hold down the grind button for 10 seconds. This is what we determined to be the best grind time for the Rwanda beans specifically. We now want to take the 20 grams of now dry grounds out of the grinder, carefully brush them out, and we want to put them into a cup and then put them into the Clever coffee dripper with a paper filter. So you need to have the dripper set up with the filter laid inside of it, and we're going to pour the 20 grams of dry grounds inside of it. Now we can take the previously mentioned 330 grams of water that was sitting in the sun and put that into the kettle and set that to 95 degrees Celsius and turn that on. In this process, we should lose about 2 grams of water due to evaporation, and there should be about 8 grams left over because we're going to use 320 grams of hot water. So now once the water is up to 95 degrees Celsius, we want to pour exactly 320 grams of it into the Clever coffee dripper over the grounds, and this is done by leaving that on the scale while you're pouring it. And as soon as you pour in that water, you want to give it a stir just to make sure all the coffee grounds and all the water molecules are getting in there and absorbing properly. And now we're going to let that brew for 4 minutes. However, at 2 minutes and 30 seconds in, we're going to take off the top of the dripper and we're going to give it another stir. Now we're going to put that back on, and at the end of the entire 4-minute brew, we will let the Clever coffee dripper pour out into our coffee mug, and it should yield us a brew of roughly 270 grams. Now we're going to do some calculations. Start with the brew ratio. So we're going to take the mass of our hot water and divide it by the mass of our dry grounds to give us a brew ratio of 16. Now we're going to look and see where we hope to land with that brew ratio based on previous testing, and we can measure that out to the box and see that it should give us a TDS of about 1.35 if we do it correctly, which is a PE value of between 18 and 19. Now we plug in our expected TDS value, given that we cannot measure it yet, and from here we can calculate our absorption ratio by taking the mass of water absorbed into the grounds and dividing that by the mass of our dry grounds put in. It gives us an absorption ratio of 2.5. And now we can calculate our percent extraction by taking our expected TDS value and multiplying it by the mass of our brew divided by the mass of our dry grounds, giving us a PE value of 18.23%. In the last test we were able to run, our TDS and PE values were a little too high, so for the next time we'd want to reduce extraction time to bring those down slightly.